With One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion, Ken Kesey established himself as one of America's most talented novelists, but his notorious exploits in the psychedelic 60s overshadowed his reputation as a literary phenomenon. He has finally rewarded all those readers who have been waiting 28 years for a new Ken Kesey novel. With his new book, Sailor Song, he has just done that. Welcome.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
You
Pleasure. Thank you. Why did it take so long?
Well, I was busy. I had other stuff to do.
That's
I was
right.
in jail. I live in family.
Well, you were living your life. Well, let's go back to that. I mean, let me go back to you grew up in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somehow what was your father? What did your father do?
We were all dairy people. My dad ran a creamery. My brother runs a creamery. The only legitimate work I've ever done is working the creamery. I got a pasteurizer's license and an ice cream maker's license. We're a dairy family.
Yeah. And then, but you made your way to Stanford.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and there was you were there. Larry McMurtry was there. Wallace Stegner was there.
We were being taught by Frank O'Connor and Malcolm Cowley. There was Wendell Berry was there. Ed McClanahan, Gurney Norman. It was Bob Stone.
Did you Robert Stone? Yeah, he was a big fan. Did you come out of there saying, "I can write"?
No, I went in there saying I can write.
Did you?
I came out of there saying I can write as good as I thought I could. Yeah, I didn't know I was in deep water with some heavy ducks until I got to Stanford.
And what did it say to you? It just say, "There's a lot I don't know."
It really did. Stegner one time accused me of being an anti-intellectual. What he really didn't appreciate was that I was illiterate, practically. I majored in radio and television.
Yeah.
And
thinking you would.
I was going to write for radio and television, and somebody read some of my stuff, and they said, "They're not going to do this on television. You might as well write fiction."
This is not something that Middle America is waiting to hear.
No, this is. They were still right in the middle of "I Dream of Beaver."
Well, you went to try to acting for a while too, didn't you?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now really is calling on that old acting practice that I have. I'm performing these kids' stories around the country. Well,
but there's a lot of themes here. I mean, one of the people say that one of the reasons that your buddy Stone says this, you know, that part of what's happened to your life is that living your life was creating art for you.
I feel like everybody is creative if they just pay attention to how they set the coffee cup on the table and how they arrange the flowers in the vase.
So take note of living.
Yeah, it is available to anybody. And besides, I've also written a lot of other stories between those two books.
Okay, but let's go back to those two books. Because it was it 60 what 62?
61, I have 2 or something like that.
That's when Cuckoo Nest came out.
Yeah, in 64 is when Great Notion came out.
Yeah. What was the message of Cuckoo's Nest?
Oh, it's pretty much, as I've been told, it's the same message that's in all my books, that the small can overcome the little by outsmarting it and
with a little luck.
With a little luck and a little love.
The little guy can beat the big guy.
And the kids' stories that I'm telling have that in it very much, that you don't want to take the big force on head on. You're going to slide him by and hit him from behind. And I felt like to communicate that theme, I needed a different vehicle, as it were. So we came up with this bus and headed to
stay with me. Don't get to the bus yet.
Okay.
I mean, because there's something happened before you there. You went from Cuckoo Nest 2 years later to Sometime a Great Notion, right?
Right.
And that was. You think that's as good as you ever done?
That's as good a book as I'm ever likely to write. Yeah. It's like I don't think Bobby Fischer is going to play the chess he played 20 years ago. You've got to be young enough to have that stay up for 30 hours at a time stamina and keep all those balls
Well,
in the air.
explain that to me, because, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because, I mean, you make this athletic metaphor. You said Salazar, the great marathon runner, he's not going to do it now. And some of your gifts leave you if you're an athlete. You have to retire. In the end, the best can no longer hit the ball, the legs go, all of that kind of stuff. And sports is a young man's game. Why is writing a young man's game? Or a young woman?
It requires concentration, and it requires stamina, you nick the old brain pan a lot going through.
Some of those cells die, do they?
Yeah, there's some large
or
smoking
you
holes.
do things to those cells.
I'll get together with Norman Mailer or Arthur Miller, and we'll talk about this, about why don't American writers get better.
Right, tell me.
Not many writers make it over what I call the Hemingway hump.
And what's the Hemingway hump?
It's the place where you really make a good hit early and then kind of float toward the grave for the next 30 years. The only few writers you can think of that get better, Eudora Welty.
Right, sure. She's continued to be good.
She's continued to be good and has got better. But the great one is Yeats, who is writing his best stuff at 84.
Now, how about Tolstoy?
Well, that's not an American writer.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
let's keep our focus here, Mr. Rose.
Yeah. But I think that the American public and the American publication world puts a lot of pressure on the writers. I saw Jerzy Kosinski not long before he offed himself, and he was complaining about the fact that in Europe, you write one novel and get it published, you're set. You've got a teaching job the rest of your life.
You can live on that the rest of your
You
life.
do the rest of your life.
And maybe that's the way it ought to be. Maybe that's justice because because it is so rare to create something that really has.
Well, it sure is depressing, though, to think that you have done your best work and then what you're doing now is just reproductions of it. That's why I like it, to continue to change.
Yeah. But did you feel that way? That you'd done after, I mean, why didn't you write, after you had done Cuckoo's Nest and after you did Sometime a Great Notion, why didn't you then say, I got this? I mean, did you feel like I'd said all I have to say? Did you feel like, what?
You know that little thing that we just saw of De Niro?
Right.
De Niro continues to squeeze out of him a new character each time. Instead of dropping back and playing his old character, he tries to create a new character each time. And to do that, you've got to take some risks in form, and this is just a form. And
a novel.
A novel, yeah.
Right.
And there are other forms that are equally as valid and I think maybe a lot more effective. I mean, look where we're sitting here. We're sitting in front of television. Yeah. We're not reading. We're communicating with people.
That's interesting because you say if you were a 30-year-old man, you wouldn't have written this book. You would, in fact, have made a video.
That's right. If I had the energy and the equipment and was 30 years old, I would use that thing just the way Shakespeare used his quill pen. It's just a recording device. You know, the pen, the typewriter, the computer, the VCR, whatever it is, it's a recording device to communicate an idea and a theme and characterization to the public. It's why finally you come down to, you get back to the campfire and those eyes over the campfire and speaking to the kids around the campfire and keeping that story alive. Whatever you can use to move your story is valid, I think.
What's the satisfaction for you in the children's stories?
Oh,
because wrapped in fact inside of this book is a children's story.
Yeah. In fact, I think of it as it's the pearl. I'm sure of the kid's story. I'm not so sure of the novel. I believe I had the kid's story, and I built the oyster around the kid's story.
But what's the satisfaction with
when I read adult fiction to adults, you'll see them doing this. When you read kids' stories to adults, you see them doing this. Yeah. They're not thinking of it in terms of...
Even adults do that.
Oh, yeah. Usually I get way more adults than kids, but you read to the kids, and then pretty soon you see the adults say, oh, hey, this isn't going to be hard. They're telling me a story. Yeah. People love to be read to, and especially when the story is something that doesn't pretend to be too thick.
You and Robert Stone are going to appear at the 92nd Street Y. I'm going to read from this, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Stone's not. He's going to read from his, and you're going to read from this.
It was so funny, though, that Bob and I, on the cover of his book, you mean that Outer Reach has got that cross on the cover, the same way, and it's got the picture. I got on the back
a picture of him on a dock.
On a
dock
new yacht
up in Connecticut. I'll show this here. Yeah, you're right.
But we had no idea. We were kind of writing the same stuff.
Now, where is this? This is Oregon?
That's right out on the other side of my pond with my boat Deeper that sunk 3 times.
Let me go back one quick time to the Merry Pranksters. This is not the Merry Pranksters. This is the new one, isn't it? This is
No, that's the old one.
This is the old one. Oh, okay. Wow, I thought that was that's the old one. What was that about? Just having fun? You were going to celebrate, actually, the writing of Sometime a Great Notion?
Yeah, we came out to pick up the book. What's been fun with the new bus is going around and seeing the reactions of the people seeing this bus. You get a lot of old deadheads, a lot of old flower children and hippies who recognize it, but the best response is coming from the skateboarders. The people who don't know me, they've never heard of Tom Wolfe, they think the Grateful Dead plays back up to Frank Sinatra. It's a complete new world to them. And they look out and they say, hey, old dudes, yay, great wheels, old dudes. And they understand it immediately. Yeah. It's just a thing that looks neat and it's having a good time and it's moving and also it's paying attention. It's not running over kids and dogs. It's paying attention.
Who's your audience?
The new audience I'm reading to are the mothers and fathers that read Cuckoo's Nest and went to see the Grateful Dead at Golden Gate Park, and now they've got 6- and 7-year-old kids, and they're bringing them to these shows, and so it's the audience with their kids, the same old bunch with their kids.
Yeah. You and the Grateful Dead, I mean, that's been a long time.
Yeah, but if that darn Garcia doesn't quit hammering on his liver, we may come to the end of our ways. But yeah, we've known each other a long, long time. In fact, the kid's story in the middle of Sailor Song was written because the Dead are supposed to be writing the music for an opera to it. We agreed to this 10 years ago, and of course I think they forgot it when they got back to the hotel room and Gilligan's Island was on. But I still wrote the kid's story.
Do people, do you still do any LSD?
Well, Charlie, you know, back to the question about Clinton.
I asked you about the campaign. But I mean, you don't want to get involved in. I mean,
oh no, I do. I have a.
Because I thought that your message was that you want the country to take a more, in your judgment, that it doesn't discriminate between different drugs, and that's part of what you.
Yeah. Well, my message really is just say thanks. I really don't know anything about all this other stuff. I know acid and I know grass. And I know that there have been a whole lot more people hurt on AstroTurf than grass. Yeah, and the only thing that I've ever heard that's been hurt on LSD is that elephant. They gave the 3,000 hits of acid to it and it expired. But I relate it to the whole woman's issue, that what I do in here is my business.
Yeah, freedom of your own body.
Yeah, and of your own mind.
Yeah.
If what's inside of you is up to you. Now, if I go out and do something dumb and run over somebody, then get me. But I don't like to tell people what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. I mean, part of this book, too, the themes of this book, little guy against a big guy, it's also a man against nature.
Yeah, very much.
A lot. I mean,
and how much we have trampled on old nature, and she's beginning to bark back, I'm afraid.
Do you wish you'd done more of this? I mean, you've had a heck of a life, but you've expressed enormous satisfaction that you've done this now.
Yeah.
Do you wish sort of, well, you know?
Yeah, but I sure wouldn't have skipped any of the other stuff. You know, novelists are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, and there's only one Kesey life.
Yeah, that's it. And I've had a real good time running this road, and I've met some great people, great warriors.
But this, you sure have. I mean, in fact, the one writer you really respect is Hunter Thompson, huh?
Oh, yeah, Hunter.
Is he all right now?
Well, no, of course. I mean, Hunter, you know, this guy he's not like Tom Wolfe.
No,
he gets it all over him. But
he's out there pulling away with the gun, too.
But Hunter's very, very valid guy, and he's a battler. And what a lot of people don't know, this Hunter is a gentleman.
I'm out of time. I'd love to have him on the show. Get him to come down here sometime.
Well, I tell you, if you do,
I'm out of time. I'm going to lose. Okay. Ken Kesey, Sailor Song.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Tomorrow night we'll talk about the vice presidential debate, and we'll have a conversation with financier Felix Rohatyn. Kesey will be watching. I'll see you tomorrow night.